What is the biggest struggle I face in living my purpose? Well, as all of us face struggles, and so they're here for us to learn from, right? And so I wouldn't say that that stopped me from purpose. In fact, sometimes those struggles gave me the purpose, right? In my case, a challenging family dynamic gave way to some circumstances that allowed me to join a spiritual group so that I could get more grounded and more emotionally intelligent to handle this dynamic, and that brought me about to where I am today. So I look at the struggles as grounds for growth and opportunity to pivot and go, okay, how am I going to deal with this, and what does this mean, and where can I grow from here? And so I look at them as opportunities and go, oh, some things may seem like a struggle, but often the bigger the struggle, the bigger the potential movement up the ladder of consciousness.
Hello, my name is Zenka. I'm founder of LightNet, and my passion and purpose is to make the impossible possible. It is a great honor to introduce our next guest, Mark Szymczak. He is the founder of the Sedona Quantum Consciousness Center, and I believe he is the most embodied person I have ever met in the consciousness movement. He really applies consciousness and unity consciousness to his everyday life in an extraordinary way, thinking for the whole here in Sedona. He is, like the last guest, Carolyn Hauser, really focused on this idea that if your nervous system is not calm, it is difficult to listen to and find your purpose. He believes that we need to breathe through our nose and go outside and be in nature and exercise in order to bring our nervous system into that special sweet spot. The other thing that I absolutely love about him is that at 9 o'clock every day, wherever he is with people around him, they pause for 15 minutes to do a prayer meditation. This practice includes listening to the field, right? So if you want to live your purpose, this is a perfect way to tune into yourself and also feel and feed love and joy and peace into the collective field, which we now know about through the Holo movement and all the scientists who are proving that. He has a retreat center called the Desert Rose and the Canyon Rose that bring people together to expand human consciousness, which he is deeply passionate about, believing that this is the way to our best collective evolution. And I agree. Here he is.
I discovered my purpose most recently to be helping others get into the prayer state. That's number one. I also found my purpose to be helping people understand to breathe less, not more. That getting into parasympathetic, into breath, brain, heart coherence is an important way to move into this more prayerful state. And sometimes that is a little bit less than more. Less is more. And so this is what I find to be helpful for many. And this is just part of what I am unfolding to the world as part of my purpose. There's more, so I have a few. Those are the first two that come to mind. The road to my purpose has taken pivots along the way. My purpose has not always been the same. Over time, at one point in my life, my purpose was to help America become more of a manufacturing, automated so that we could compete with the Japanese. This was in the late 80s and the 90s. Then it became, okay, because of some of my background having asthma, it was like, to help people that have an elevated nervous system with issues, anxiety and asthma, to overcome some of these issues, right? Through settling their nervous system and understanding a better way to breathe and how to dial down inflammation. But moving into the spiritual essence that I am today, and and joining a spiritual group for the better part of 15 years helped me understand that we're more than the physical body, that we really have to move into this energetic and this spiritual essence that we are, and that we can do a lot more collective work in this space, in the quantum field, right? And so accessing the quantum field is really big for me, and helping others understand that it's a space that we need to spend some time in, that yin space of the quiet, of accessing intentions and doing collective intentional work is important. So moving me there was the spiritual system that I was in, and then recognizing that I was also a biohacker, and that, oh, there's more. We can use some tools to help us increase our energy and potential and activate, amplify our intentions, and then put that out to the world collectively in the space of prayer, and that is going to have a powerful effect on the way the world turns. And so as we look at the potentials for dystopia, because of what's changing in the world, that we could affect it on the material plane by trying to shut things down or amp things up. But if we do this in the quantum field energetically, it's an awful lot easier, because we don't have to dictate how it's done. We can just set that intention for the better world to unfold without saying this is what needs to happen. And so if we're collectively in this space of just allowing for the best world to come about, the new earth, however we want to phrase it, right? And we're in that space, and it doesn't mean that we're there all the time. We're not yogis on a mountain, but we can spend some time, especially collectively at 9 p.m. universal prayer, doing this, or early in the morning when the veil is thin, that these are good times to be in this space with the active work of prayer. And so that's what's brought me here, and that is probably one of my highest purposes at this point in time. Yeah, so universal prayer, our 9 p.m. prayer, was part of the system that I was in. And so it's a non-denominational, universal prayer for anyone who has a spiritual bent. And it's really about just getting in alignment with your divine, your higher self, source energy, God, however you want to frame it, at 9 p.m., whatever time zone you are in, right? And that there really is no time in the quantum field, but it's still good to be there with others. And so my parents do this, have done this for 10 years. I've been doing it for 20 years. There's thousands of others around the world, just in the space of prayer, here in the heart. You're really just amplifying the emotion of joy, of gratitude. You're lifting human consciousness. So that's the intention that we're setting. It's just the lifting of human consciousness, our brothers and sisters around the world. And then we're expanding that out with the joy, with gratitude in our heart. So it's an active meditation where we're staying awake for those 10, 15 minutes between 9 and 9:15, or we're just amplifying this out to the world. And it's that simple. And it's a beautiful bedtime ritual to set the stage for a great night's sleep, and to ensure that you're starting to wind down by that hour. And so it has ancestral health benefits as well. So it's helping on the energetic, the spiritual level, the mental level, the emotional level, and even the physiological level. So it's a wonderful practice that doesn't take long, and you're in communion with others, so you're not alone. And it helps a lot of lonely people. It helps people that are very yang and busy all the time to just take this time to come back to that heart-centered space and it's the coherence, right? Where we're just in this space of lifting. Yeah, what is the quantum field? I've been asked, and it's a tough one to define. Well, what is the space between the physical world, and why is this important, right? Because we have this material world that we think life is all about, but then there's all this space, and there's the energetics, where the space of intention, the space of magic, the mystical world, where the miracles happen, right? Where the angels reside, where the ascended masters, right? This other world dimension, maybe. I don't know if we'd call it a world, dimension, this space of intention, right? This space where things can manifest if we put our attention there. And so, there's a lot of research around the quantum field. Certainly people like Lynn McTaggart, Joe Dispenza have done work there. Well, if we step up our emotions while in this space, right, we can actually energetically bring things around about that we're like, doesn't take as much work. We can have this law of attraction, magnify things that we want to happen in life toward us, right? And so as we access this quantum field in this space, and we're in this space, we'll see that the miracles do happen. And so for some people it can be instant. In Sedona, we have the synchronicities that happen rather quickly, but that's not for everyone. And it doesn't mean it just has to be Sedona. It can be other places around the world. But there's also that it can take some time, and it may not show up always as you think it's going to show up. So that perspective, that lens that you take on to see it for, oh, this is how it's been, how I've been gifted, right? So if we start to look through the lens of, oh, the quantum field, the universe is here for us, not to us, that these circumstances through Andrew and, Connie, so the trusting universe, it is about this space of a loving universe, and that circumstances are happening for our benefit, not to us, right? And this is a trust in the quantum field, in higher energies, that, yes, this is a planet, this is a place where we come to learn and grow. And so if we can move into this space and understand it a little better, and move into a higher emotional intelligence around it and access it more, we can deal with things that happen in life with a little less drama, with a cleaner lens, maybe with more amusement, and see it that, okay, this is a great lesson, this isn't hurtful, right? And we can move through some of the more hurtful things a bit quicker. So again, the quantum field is just a space to access, a field to access, to help bring about the joy in life. Now, I founded Sedona Quantum Consciousness 5 years ago now when I moved to Sedona, having had a spiritual background and coming to a new place and feeling authentic in starting something spiritual but non-denominational, not aligned with any necessarily Buddhist practice, but having a understanding of frequencies and the benefit of technologies that give us healing frequencies. I decided to combine some of our tools that we have, the biocharger, with this prayer space and the meditation space. And so at some of our event centers, or even sometimes our homes, we bring in a biocharger to essentially send some frequencies, depending on the recipe that we choose, to help us with our own healing or spiritual evolvement. And then at the same time, people are invited in. This is 5 p.m. on Mondays for Mission Mondays, Frequency Fridays, 5 p.m., where we're in the space of prayer for these 15 minutes while the biocharger is running. And so our Mission Mondays are very unique because people come in with their missions and they'll talk to us, they'll talk to the audience about what their mission is, and we'll collectively amplify. We'll bring in the highest potential of that mission, right? So we'll set in a collective intention to really pull that up a few notches, and we'll be in that prayerful space for 15 minutes while the biocharger is running, and then we'll move to the next mission. And so this we've been running for about 6 months now, and more and more people are aligning with this, because not only do they have their own missions, but they love supporting other people's missions. And while we can't all support them financially or with our time, this doesn't take much, and it's a real great way for us to be in community, doing something, we call it serving at a higher level. And so this is why our Mission Mondays have been quite successful. Yeah, our Frequency Fridays were our first event because I found that it was one thing to enjoy collective prayer, but wow, what if we coupled it with Sedona sound baths, right? We have these wonderful musicians here in Sedona, and I never expected to be a promoter of musicians, but we bring them in and we have fantastic sound baths. Every Friday it's different, and so we'll do 15 minutes in the prayerful state, lifting, setting an intention and grounding that in, fortifying it with certainty that it's here and it's now, and then we'll move into the theta realms, mystical world ourselves, with the luxury of a beautiful sound bath for the next half hour, 45 minutes. And so that's been really rewarding for all that attend, because you get to do something of a higher nature, serve at a higher level, and then you get the reward of a sound bath, and often then people come back with epiphanies and wisdom that we share, and so it's a real joyful way to kick off a weekend. Yeah, joy has been really important to me probably over the past more 10, 15 years, as my kids moved on in life, and I recognized that, wow, where do we want to spend our state of mind, right? If we could be in a state more often than not, would we want it to be in peace? Would we want it to be in compassion? Would we want it to be in love? And I thought, wow, joy is a real pleasant place for us to spend a default state. So why not bring our default to joy? I mean, we can still experience sadness, we can still experience grief, but we want those to be brief, if at all, you know. Why not have that set point as joy? And so what can we do in the physical plane that brings about that joy? And so we do throw a lot of enjoyable events, right? Community events, because we tend to have joy when we're around other people. I mean, we can be in creative joy too as we're, doing our creative missions. But, collectively we throw a lot of fun parties and events because there's a lot of joy and connections that come out of that. And dopamine, that people feel good for a few days. Wow, I had a nice time at that event. And so joy is a space, and it is a space that we can just work on to train our body, our mind to be in this space more often than not. But why not work at it collectively at the same time? So yeah, joy has been important to me because it puts a smile, it makes you friendly, it brings in that attraction, right? It helps others kind of want to be around you if you're in joy. It's just a great default state to be there. Yeah, why are people having trouble finding their purpose in life and coming to their purpose? And that begs the question, because we may have come in as souls incarnated here with the highest potential purpose, but there's probably a lot of purposes along the way. As I said, mine kind of shifted. When we're 12, that purpose isn't going to be, it's not always going to be evident, right? And the idea of, I want to be an astronaut may or may not really make sense. And so moving through chapters of your life with purposeful intention, like, right now I'm a groundskeeper, but you know what? I'm going to be the best groundskeeper that I can, and take this job on with responsibility and purpose, right? And that is going to emanate, right? That is going to feel good to me, and it's going to feel good to others when I'm doing work in a dependable, responsible, purposeful way that makes me feel good about where I'm at. And so it's a choice that people have, that they don't always have to go, my purpose is out there, let me move toward that. It can be here and now while you're getting ready for, that would be interesting. Let me test drive this next potential chapter and see where that takes me, and start to pivot accordingly. And then again, the alignment with divinity can open up these other potentials, and maybe a way to move there quicker if we really find it delicious and appetizing. Like, yes, this feels really good and this is aligned, right? But in the meantime, we can still stay, in full fulfillment to some of these other purposes, because we may have, if you're a parent, the purpose of raising good children, of bringing in income, of taking care of the missus, and, having good relationships, taking care of parents, that those are all purposeful things, of spending time with divinity and one's higher self, of growth, right? That these are all good purposes to have. So to say one purpose, like, I am a mission, I have one mission. Yep, some people have one mission and that is what takes up their attention. Others will have a mission of helping others, having their own mission, supporting others' missions, right? So we can have a lot of mission and purpose. But it feels good on the inside when we are of this nature, and that really helps us get out of some of these doldrums of just working for the man and I don't have control. When we have purpose, we tend to have more agency, and that can be really helpful for our insides and feeling good about what we do in life. What is the biggest struggle I face in living my purpose? Well, as all of us face struggles, and so they're here for us to learn from, right? And so I wouldn't say that that stopped me from purpose. In fact, sometimes those struggles gave me the purpose, right? In my case, a challenging family dynamic gave way to some circumstances that allowed me to join a spiritual group so that I could get more grounded and more emotionally intelligent to handle this dynamic, and that brought me about to where I am today. So I look at the struggles as grounds for growth and opportunity to pivot and go, okay, how am I going to deal with this, and what does this mean, and where can I grow from here? And so I look at them as opportunities and go, oh, some things may seem like a struggle, but often the bigger the struggle, the bigger the potential movement up the ladder of consciousness. And so many people struggle with their health conditions and find that, wow, they become fantastic practitioners. Me as a person, as an asthmatic all my life, like, okay, when the opportunity to get a master's in applied breathing sciences comes about, oh, that sounds like that could, that resonates. That's in alignment. If I get through this myself, I can help others, and whoa, that gives me purpose. Now, that's not my thinking pattern at the time. It's like, okay, this resonates, right? But then, wow, that trajectory takes me into, oh, now I can help a lot of other people that have similar conditions. And oh, wait, this is also a spiritual hack, that understanding the breath and understanding coherence and understanding how to be in parasympathetic is so badly needed if we really want to be closer to divinity. And so a lot more opens up. We don't always have to know exactly where that's going to go. And this is the trust frequency, is not having a 1-year plan or 2-year plan. This is my vision. This is where we need to go, to just follow that heart and go, okay, this is going to help me grow. This is going to help me grow. What we grow into, sometimes we leave that up to divinity, and we move along as long as we have the discernment, and we put, dissuade some of these attachments we have, so that we more quickly can move up to this higher potential and purposes. And I'm consider myself a relative expert in this, because I went from asthma to mountain climber to where I'm trying to run a 5-minute mile at age 60. We'll see if I get there. And that is breathe through your nose, right? That, just remember, breathe through your nose. It's very parasympathetic, right? And that even when you're hitting it hard, to train your respiratory fitness, if you want an extra 20 years to your life, I guarantee it, is to train at nose breathing. Train at altitude, train by just running, but never breathe through your mouth. The mouth is for eating, the nose is for breathing. And if you train during the day, eventually your sinuses will open up and you'll be breathing well through your nose at night, and you'll avoid heart attacks, sleep apnea, atrial fib, all these things that really hurt the heart. And so it brings you into parasympathetic, it brings you into coherence, it brings your alpha waves on. Breathe through your nose. What advice would I give someone who hasn't found, who's in the doldrums, is not feeling good about themselves, where their life is? I had this question come to me recently a couple times, and my answer is going to be a little unordinary, and it's to get back to ancestral health. That we really have to take care of this vehicle, and the vehicle helps settle the mind. And so those that know me here know that I am awful big into ancestral health habits, and that means exercise. It means getting good sleep. If we get good sleep, our mind works a lot better. Our brain works, our bodies work we're a lot stronger. So getting good sleep is extremely important. How do we do that? Through the right nutrition. So we have these pillars of health, and I give presentations on this. Certainly having good nutrition, and that's going to be different for different people, and there's ways to understand that. Good exercise is key to good sleep, right? So understanding that we don't have to overdo it, right? We call it a minimum effective dosage. And so I teach people how to exercise and build respiratory fitness, which helps them really sleep well, breathe well, and actually have better gut motility. So this is an important aspect of ancestral health, is knowing how to breathe well and have good respiratory fitness. And then there's being outdoors in nature, right? And that's part of exercise. Why really exercise? I mean, if you're in Milwaukee in the middle of winter, that might be a little more difficult. But if you're in a place where you can be outside exercising, getting natural sunlight and be in nature, this is really key to feeling good about yourself. You're going to be in tune, in touch with nature. You're going to be sleeping much better, and you're going to feel that drive. You're going to feel the dopamine come back. So you're going to want to minimize some of these other things that steal your dopamine, some of these habits that people have on scrolling, TV often that has to do with social media, you're going to want to dial that back and move closer to nature, right? And get into this exercise, ancestral health habits. And that one will find will start to settle the nervous system. We call it hormetic stresses. It can be yoga, it can be weightlifting, it can be running, right? These hormetic stresses can be good for you in that they then reset your nervous system to give you more parasympathetic, and they also reset the dopamine receptors so that you are now happy with what is. You don't need heavy stimulation, porn, movies, whatever it is that's really to keep your dopamine going, cocaine for that matter, right? All these other things. So resetting, taking agency over your environment and your habits are clutch to getting that purpose moving along. Because our ancestors really didn't have to think. They never had problems with mental issues. They just didn't have it. They were just busy all the time, whether it was working on the farm or chasing down animals. They're in the sunshine, in nature. They had to be attuned with nature. Our ancestors really had to be in tune with nature, animals, the environment, and they certainly didn't have the other addiction things out there to drive them away and shift their dopamine. They just got it through the outdoors, being outdoors. And so our ancestors were much of the time outdoors. And they had to really hit it hard in some cases, chase after food. So they were sprinting, right? They were maybe stretching afterwards. They were swimming, right? Catching fish, diving, the pearl divers of Japan held their breath for 20 minutes, these women. That was ancestral health. It's amazing what the human body is capable of. And when you move in this direction, it's hard in the moment, but it's really not. If you move in that direction, at first make it a non-negotiable, and then just start moving in that direction, and you will see your dopamine come back, your sleep come back, your purpose come back, your connection to divine and the downloads come back. And so this is, and we'll be going to see some of our indigenous friends to find more about how they tap in to divinity and access the quantum field so that they can not only fulfill their purpose but help emanate that to the rest of mankind. Expanding consciousness. Why is this important? It's for our own involvement, right? We can look at it from if one believes in karma and reincarnation, right? And wanting to make the world a better place or us a better person, right? If we come back in the next lifetime, we want to not have to learn those same lessons. So if we can move our consciousness so that we can evolve, so that we're not coming back to have to learn, or even within one lifetime, right? So we don't have to learn this lesson again and again. That's shifting our consciousness. There's also waking up to what's going on in the world, right? And the potential for dystopia or the potential for higher realms, right? So understanding this as our consciousness moves up, we can probably serve at a higher level. And so if that's important to you, there's a lot of people that just are happy with their hedonism, but hedonism often means dopamine levels that are depleted, and so it's a frustrating place to reside in, needing certain things in the material world to keep yourself, amped in a way that is not necessarily healthy. So if we shift our consciousness into the happiness within inside, the contentedness in here, and we are then able to serve at a higher level, oh wow, does that open up new realms of attraction, of joy, right? And so if again we want to move into these higher spaces from, if we look at Hawkins' work and we look at, levels, of consciousness, and who wants to reside in apathy, shame, grief, anger. Anger's not that bad, but it's better than some of these others. Then move into courage, neutrality, acceptance, right? Allowance, joy, love, joy, reason, compassion, and peace or tranquility, and even enlightenment. Wow, these are I don't hear anyone that's been up here that goes, I want to go back. But usually people down here would go, but that would be nice up here. And if we go between these, it's not like we're always joy, right? But again, if we want our default to kind of be up here on this side of that equation, more in peace, love, joy, reason, tranquility, these aspects of consciousness, which really not just help us, but help our family, help the world around us. And so it allows us to serve at a higher level when we're up here. What effect have I had on people around me by living my purpose? I don't go take questions, I don't put out surveys, but if I had to guess, I think it's inspiring for people to see what I've been able to do, and then I still kind of hold some humility and humbleness around me, so that I don't always have to be the boss or head honcho. I can be the janitor and cleanup guy too. And so being content, I think, shows in the ancestral health. So the purpose of ancestral health, people are like, oh, okay, without having to say anything, just living this, right? And because I'm a community person, people see me doing things and running things, and they go, okay, this guy's balanced and successful, and so they'll pick up on little things that are right for them in their moment, right? So it's not like I have to talk about it much at all. I just talk about the possibility of serving at a higher level, and then just acting out my life in ways that might inspire people without thinking about it. Authenticity is important, and so I'm not doing spiritual bypassing, opening up a consciousness center only because I had 15, 20 years of heavy spiritual integration that I feel authentic doing this. And so authenticity is an important one too. And I think most people in my community see me as authentic. If they don't know me very well. Wow, what would the world be like if the majority of people were living their purpose? We know that people that are in purpose are happier, are content, are not afflicted with diseases of the mind. It's been shown, there's studies showing that when you're in purpose, things flow, right? And that we're all puzzle pieces to this greater puzzle. And so where we might find that fit a little bit easier, our tribe, and those that we just have this love and this joy of fitting, of being part of something bigger than ourselves. And so that purpose is rarely just a soul-aligned purpose of me. It's usually a connection to fulfilling others, right? And so this, having that contentedness on the inside is I'm gonna say this, while I can't prove it, that you're not just helping yourself and those around you. You're helping your progeny, whether they're entangled, your parents are entangled, your grandparents who may be dead are still entangled. By you moving into this purpose and this higher consciousness, you are affecting your lineage this way and this way. And if that doesn't give you more motivation and reason to say, I make a difference, this is important, there's other reasons, but that's a good one, to say, oh wow, I can affect change by being in my purpose. And again, it can shift. This can move over time as you grow into your higher potential. It's getting there, starting and saying, yep, okay, I need to do this. It's time. The time is now. There's no better time than now.